2 videos in one day. I'm on something of a roll. So after recording my last video, it seems like some more news is coming out about Liverpool and transfers, more so in the transfer out than in the transfer in. So the first bit I'll go through is that it looks like the Mamardashvili is going to be a done deal. He will be going on loan to Bournemouth, but that's because Liverpool have got an agreement in place to buy him not this year, but next year. So it looks like that deal is going to come through. He'll go to Bournemouth for a season on loan, so it looks like Richard Hughes is still working for them. But we will be getting him at the start of next season when the transfer window opens next summer. So that's done. That seems like it's going to be done and dusted. Seems like that's all cleared up. Again, having a bit of time to think about it and reflect on it, I think it's a good deal. I do like Mamardashvili, and I think if we are going to start this whole succession planning, I'm for it. I think it's a good thing that we start planning for life after the world-class players. Obviously, I'd like us to do more of it, and I'd like us to have done this sooner, but I'm going to get more into detail about that afterwards. So the other bit of news is that Bobby Clark looks like he's going to be joining Salzburg, teaming up with Pep Lijnders over there, as Liverpool have apparently agreed a fee of, I believe it's £10 million to see him go. This one, I'm not so happy with. Now, in isolation, I don't mind the fact that we sell some players. If it's about raising funds, if it's about we don't believe the player's good enough, I'm okay with that. That's not a problem for me. But the problem I have with this deal is it kind of highlights that I don't believe Liverpool have had a plan going into this transfer window. It seems like we've just kind of gone into it a bit blind. We've kind of accepted, or rather, the plan has basically been, we'll wait till the window opens, we'll let Slot assess the squad, and then who knows what's going to go on from there. It should have been, Liverpool should have a list of targets already there. There's been a lot of talk in the past about how Klopp wanted Brandt, and Edwards said that Salah was the better choice. So why is it then that we don't already have a list of players for if Slot says, oh, I need this player, I need this player. Why don't we have that list already there, and why wasn't we working on deals beforehand? Also, why are we selling off a lot of our young talent and then bringing in nobody? The idea with people like Clark is that when the other players start to get old, or if they want to leave the club or whatever, then the youth will come through and now take over. Clark was part of, he was actually part of Klopp's squad for some of the games last season, and I thought he looked good. I genuinely thought that he had a future at Liverpool, and I thought that he would be a player that we were going to see a lot more of this season. I can understand a world where Slot comes in and goes, he doesn't fit my system, he's not the style of player that I want. But then to just sell him on top of selling Carvalho, it just strikes me as we don't really know what we're doing, and we're weakening our squad rather than strengthening it. And we seem to be weakening it more and more and more. It's not like we have an abundance of players at the moment that if we have some injuries, like we had this last season, like the cup final against Chelsea, we had a squad whereby we had to bring on the kids because the first team players were all getting injured. Gravenberch got injured in that game. Then, eventually we had to rely on the youngsters. And now we're getting rid of those youngsters, but we're not bringing anybody in. It doesn't make any sense for me. And whilst it's not a direct comparison, it reminds me of the time when we sold Xabi Alonso to try and bring in Gareth Barry, and then ended up with neither of them, and we ended up buying Aquilani, who was injured all the time. It feels like we're back there. It's like we've put all of our eggs in a Zuba-Mendy shaped basket, and then we've not got that transfer over the line. So instead we've gone, okay, well, let's just sell everybody anyway, and let's do nothing to actually fix the holes in the squad. And instead, let's make ourselves weaker, because if we do start suffering injuries this season, who are we going to fall back on? We don't have them options. No, I like for me, Liverpool now need to start acting. Like Edwards, Hughes, FSG, whoever it is, needs to start acting. Slot has already said that he wants signings. He's already identified the number 6 has been a priority, and yet it seems like we're going into this now, and we're going to end up having a season whereby we've not delivered on the promises or on what Slot wants. So instead of when he came into the club and he saw the squad and he had a chance to assess it, we're now selling it and just basically saying work miracles. Now, I get that Clark probably wasn't going to be a mainstay in the first team this season. I understand that. I understand that he wouldn't get in the squad. You know, when you've got our first 11 and you've got a few subs, Clark probably doesn't get above them. But then it's like when you think the Champions League, we have more games in the Champions League this season. And then you factor in the cups that we're going to be in. And then you factor in the Premier League. And if you take into account injuries that could happen or suspensions that could happen, you need to have these players that are, you know, good enough to step up when needed, even though they're not going to be first team regulars. And then to lose one of them, for me, is basically like just making yourself weaker for no reason at all. So yeah, I just wanted to get a quick video out to say my thoughts on that. Again, like it could be a case that Liverpool now take this money and then, for example, we've managed to raise like 30 million for Carvalho. We got the money for the Solanke sale from Bournemouth to Tottenham. We've now made another 10 million. If Liverpool then suddenly went and threw £100 million on Bruno Guimaraes, you know, we're all going to look back and say, okay, fair enough, the window's not as bad as what we think. But at this moment in time, I am worried that we don't have a plan. And that's what concerns me, that, you know, whilst Slot has come in and there are similarities between him and Klopp, you know, he still needs players to get his system working. Like, he has a very unique style. He's got a very defined way that he wants players to play. And if we're constantly taking players off him, what happens if the players that we're replacing them with suddenly aren't good enough? Or if they get injured, or, you know, if there's suspensions, or if there's tired. You know, Szoboszlai towards the end of last season, he looks absolutely exhausted. Going into the Euros, he looked exhausted. You know, he could use a break, and that's where you can use someone like a Bobby Clark to step in and see what he can do. But, you know, hopefully this all ends up turning around, because when I decided to create this channel, I didn't want to be negative. I didn't want to come on and just be a channel that bashes FSG, that bashes Liverpool, that bashes anything. I wanted it to be positive. I wanted to, you know, create videos about Slot and his tactics and what I think, you know, how Liverpool are playing, how we're doing in the games. I wanted it to be a really positive. You know, I've supported Liverpool since around like 1995, something like that. I've supported them for like pretty much all my life, and I don't want to be negative on the club that, you know, I love, and the club that I've supported my whole life. But at the moment, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of good news that's coming out from the club. So hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully everything does start to pick up. If I'm being honest with you, like, I am worried that the signings just aren't going to come. I know we've been linked with a left back today, so we'll see how that progresses. But, you know, it does seem like we have this situation at the club where we get linked with a lot of players, or we're keeping an eye on a lot of players, and then nothing really develops from there. So I am hopeful that we turn this round. I am hopeful that we bring in new players. I'm aware that there's like 2 weeks of the transfer window left. I'm more concerned about the Ipswich game at the moment. I do think we'll win the game, and obviously I'm going to support the team no matter what. But, you know, I am concerned with the negativity that's around the club at the moment, what kind of an impact that's going to have on the likes of Trent and Virgil when we start to, you know, sit down with contract negotiations. I've already kind of resigned myself to the fact that Salah's probably, you know, this is probably going to be his last season. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with it, but I've kind of already come to terms with that fact. But yeah, so hopefully going forward there'll be some more positive videos. I do want to get a video out about what my thoughts on when Klopp left and Slot took over, and about the way that Slot plays. So I'm going to try and get a video done for that tomorrow. hopefully, you know, it all quietens down a little bit. But just to let you know, I don't want to have a negative channel which is constantly bashing people and constantly bashing the club. So I'm hopeful that things do pick up. But yeah, as of now, I'm not happy about us selling Clark. Again, it's one of those things, as I said before, in isolation. If we would have brought in Zubimendi and then we sanctioned a deal to sell Clark, you kind of look at things in a different light, and you can, you know, you might not understand what FSG's plan is, but you kind of accept the fact that there might be a plan there. But at the moment, it just seems like, you know, the club is what, £50 million richer at the moment, and the only deal that we've done is a deal that we can't have, you know, we can't use this season. It kind of just seems like we're losing our way a bit, and it does, as I said, it does draw similarities to stuff that Liverpool have done in the past, specifically Alonso and Gareth Barry, and ended up with Aquilani. So hopefully things turn around. Hopefully, you know, the negativity around the club, I'm hopeful that Hughes and Edwards are actually working on some things in the background. But we'll see. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But thank you again for watching. I also want to say a huge shout out to Cop Talk TV. It was him that kind of gave me the motivation and gave a bit of advice to create this channel. So I just want to say a big thank you to him. And if you haven't checked out his channel, I highly recommend it. You know, every morning he's picking up the Spanish newspapers to see exactly what's been reported in terms of with the Zubimendi deal, but also with regards to Diaz to Barcelona and things like that. So it's a really good channel. Go and check him out. So, yep, thank you again for watching, and I'll hopefully get a new video out for you tomorrow, which will be a bit more positive. We'll wait and see. Take care.